I've got 28 game-changing tips to help you transform your mindset about money and help you kiss being poor goodbye for good. So I put out this short with Kevin Hart expressing why the poor are poor. I thought it was really interesting, but also the comments I received were interesting. I'm going to be addressing some of those comments within the 28 tips that I provide. If you missed the short, here it is. If you caught it, skip ahead.
If you look in the hood, there's liquor stores and check cashing places. You know why? Because they know that the people in the hood aren't smart enough to open up bank accounts. They're gonna get a check, they're gonna cash it, and it's a liquor store right next to it. So let's just put that around them. Let's also put a bunch of that's easy and cash available. We don't want you to gain credit. We want you to be cash driven. That's how we keep the poor poor. It's not until you understand that you get out.
If you're anything like me, you're tired of living paycheck to paycheck, stressing out about rent and bills, going to work every day, working for people that you don't even respect. If this is you, and you're anything like me, I got a great book recommendation for you. It's called The Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel. I broke down the 28 tips that I learned from this that I've implemented in the past couple years that have helped me acquire my wealth. This book completely changed my view on money and relieved a lot of pressure that I didn't even realize I was putting on myself. Basics that I never even would have thought about before reading this book. Let's get into it. Quick disclaimer, even though the video is about money, this is not financial advice. Also, if you're interested in investing in crypto or the stock market, I put a list of like my favorite apps that I like to use, and I think that there's some discounts down below. Understand time horizons matter. Understanding that investments and financial decisions should be made with a long-term perspective to look at where you want to be in the next 3 to 5 to 10 years. You're really doing it for your future you, so keep your future you in mind. If somebody said, I'll give you $1 million, but you can't buy any new clothes, you can't eat at restaurants for 2 whole years, would you do it? If you think about it with that kind of perspective and mindset, it makes things a little bit easier to save. Avoid the comparison trap. Focus on your financial goals, not what other people have or what they're doing. It's all about you. Who cares about their vacations or their cars or their houses? They're probably in debt. Embrace humility. Recognize that luck plays a significant role in money. Sometimes you'll pick a stock or even a lottery ticket that will go to the moon. So luck is definitely a factor. Know the difference between getting rich and staying rich. It's not just about making money. It's about managing it and preserving it. Kind of like taking care of plants or your animals or even your family. Diversification is key. You've always heard like those nerdy financial people, diversify portfolio.
You need to diversify your bonds.
Having a diversified portfolio is actually a really good thing. You want to have many pots with seeds in them that have potential to grow in different areas because you never know when one pot could get flipped over. And it reminds me of one of my favorite Bible verses, Ecclesiastes 11:6. Plant your seed in the morning and keep busy all afternoon. For you don't know if profit will come from one activity or the other, or maybe both. Be patient. Good financial outcomes often require time and patience. Warren Buffett has a quote that says, "Someone is sitting in the shade today because someone planted a tree a long time ago." Understand your risk tolerance. Know how much risk you can handle before making any large investments. When I used to drink, I used to spend like $100 a day on drinking alcohol and eating out fast food and stuff. Since I stopped drinking, I didn't have to pay for any of that sort of stuff. I quit smoking as well, so I didn't have to pay for that. I had some spare money. My risk tolerance on that money was like I would have drank it, I would have smoked it, I would have ate it. So I threw it at the stock market, kind of a Hail Mary, but at the same time, I thought about it as an investment into understanding the stock market and learning about the stock market. Because it was money that I was throwing in the trash otherwise, I had a very high risk tolerance. Avoid debt. Manage or reduce your debt to secure a stable future. But oftentimes, debt is sort of inevitable because you can consider your everyday needs as a debt that you gotta pay off. So, like, I consider my rent a debt. Even though I don't have any debt, I consider that a debt. So I make sure that that gets paid off right after I pay myself. Paying myself meaning I pay for investments a certain percentage, and then I pay my rent a certain percentage. And whatever's left over, I can enjoy. Invest in yourself. Continuous learning and personal development can be your best investment. Think about the time that you have in a day and think about how much of that time you are investing in yourself. It's not necessarily always about money. I used to listen to music all the time. Anytime I was out for walks or transporting to work, or sometimes even when I was working by myself, I would be listening to music. And all these songs, I totally heard them before. I switched that time into putting on educational content like YouTube videos, Audible books. That way, I would be increasing my knowledge by investing in myself at the same time making money at like my job or walking to work. It's such a habit now that it's really hard for me to sit and do nothing without some sort of education on in the background. Plan for the unexpected. Build an emergency fund for unforeseen expenses because you don't want to tap into your regular investments and you don't want to tap into your rent. You don't want to tap into the money that you have to enjoy yourself, to buy that latte or whatever. If you don't have much money, I'd recommend that you start off with like 500. Ultimately, try to get that emergency to about 5 grand, I would say, or 3 months rent. I think that's a pretty good rule to put on yourself. Automate your savings. Think about it. When you get your paycheck, the government takes money out of your paycheck. It's almost like you're a fixture. You're like a faucet that like the money goes through you and gets transferred to the government, to your bills, to your food, to your whatever, and there's nothing in it for you. So if you can find a way through your bank account to automate a certain percentage of your paycheck into your savings, even if it's just like 10%, you're still gonna be doing a lot better than just handing out the money, because you don't wanna be just a pipe fixture that has money running through it. Think about it that way. Seek financial education. Stay informed about personal finance. Pay attention to things like inflation, APYs, and interest rates. And understand how money goes up, how money goes down, and value. I think it's gonna be really cool with this new crypto thing that's coming out, because it's gonna really educate people about currency. If you don't wanna get left behind, you kind of want to understand the basics. I recommend checking out someone like Ray Dalio on YouTube. He's got some pretty entertaining videos about currency and also how to manage wealth and predict inclines and declines. Invest in index funds. If you don't want to pay attention to the stock market and everything else, but you still want to invest, put your money away and let it grow, look at a certain sector that you see potential growth in and find an ETF that is in that sector that you can invest in long term. Keep putting into it. Some of them actually even have dividends, which you can roll back into the index, and it's like a snowball effect.
I got bras in Atlanta.
You just let your money compound. Don't try and time the market. You hear all these stories about people trading crypto and all this stuff and making all this sort of money. Sure, they win sometimes, but in the end, that's one of those games where the house always wins. So you don't necessarily need to time the market. If you find a stock that you believe in and you recognize the patterns in the stock and you recognize the business and you see the vision and you're keeping up with their financials and things like that, where you recognize when the deal is good, then buy the dip and keep buying the dip and keep buying the dip. And then eventually you'll have wealth. Timing the market is a really good way to lose a lot of money. I'll just put it that way. In my experience, I tried that before, and that's where I lost thousands and thousands of dollars. I learned to just focus on a few stocks that I could keep up with the company, I could keep up with the financials, I could keep up with the stock price, and recognize where a fair value on the stock price would be, because sometimes the market will discount a stock that you're interested in and you could buy it up then. It's a weird psychology because when people see the market red, they get scared and try to sell, when actually that's the time that you should actually be buying, because it's like items being on clearance. If you think of the red as almost a clearance tag, or look at the market upside down, sometimes that's a better strategy. And if you find a stock that you believe in, such as something, I'm just throwing out examples of, I've noticed a flight to safety is usually things like Apple or, companies that are gonna be around for a while, especially if they have a dividend. Keep investing in that company because you know that the stock is gonna be worth more money as inflation goes up, and you can sort of keep it up with inflation and everything that's going on around the world because that company is making money for you. So you can hold your stocks behind some of those companies. Set clear financial goals.
You don't have a plan?
Define your financial objectives and set a clear plan to achieve them.
Why, see, plan Z, here it is.
Avoid emotional investing. Keep your emotions out of your financial investing. Don't freak out when your stock drops or get excited when something is going up, because you could potentially be buying in at the wrong times. It's really difficult to keep your emotions out of it because you're dealing with money, but at the same time, if you can just think about it as something not attached to your emotions, it's for the better. Whether it's jumping out of a financial situation or jumping into one. Like Ice Cube said, shiggity check yourself before you riggedy wreck yourself.
Yeah.
Practice gratitude. Appreciate what you have rather than always chasing more. Because you see all these rich people who are like, I'm this rich, but I'm not as rich as that guy. So they're trying to keep up with the Joneses. Look around you right now. Even if you are a little bit stressed financially, do you have food? Do you have water? Do you have shelter? Do you have a job? Do you have an income? If you have all those things, you're probably not doing too bad. You don't necessarily need that cool watch or that sweet car or that jewelry. So being content in the things that you have at this moment will help you preserve the money that you have to spend and use it more wisely. It won't be burning a hole in your pocket. Like Granny says, don't spend it all in one place. Learn from your mistakes. I just made a video recently about a fixed mindset and a growth mindset. If you want to grow from your experiences, learn from your mistakes. You can learn from other people's mistakes, which is also cool, but anytime you make a mistake, don't dwell on it. Don't worry about it. Take it as a learning lesson. And if it's a financial mistake, consider it an investment in your education. Stay informed. Keep up with where finances are all around you. Stay informed with how your job is doing, how the business is at your work, how agriculture is doing, how the government's doing. One of my favorite podcasts to listen to for financial news is Morning Brew. And they got a podcast, I think it's on Spotify, but it's definitely on YouTube. And I always put it on YouTube right after I get out the shower and I'm getting my breakfast ready. That's like 20 minutes. I'm up to date with everything and it's super entertaining. Start early because the power of compounding works better the earlier you start. I've heard people say the best time to start investing is when you turned 18. And the second best time to start investing is right now. Avoid lifestyle inflation. When you get a raise, don't be like, oh, I got a raise, I can totally buy a bigger apartment. Or I got a raise, I can totally afford this subscription. Or I got a raise, I'm gonna start eating steaks every night. Because then you just keep yourself in the same loop that you've always been in. Build a strong support system. Surround yourself with positive people, people who are moving forward. It's like that saying goes, if you look around your circle and you're not inspired by anyone in your circle, you're not in a circle, you're in a trap. Surround yourself with people who have a positive influence on your financial situation. You know, people that you can get advice from. Even in your consumption on the internet, consume financial educators on the internet. One of the things that's really interesting is the fact that rich people are usually talking about their money. It's top of mind. The poor, they don't really like to talk about their money. They don't like to talk about their wages next to their coworkers. If they do talk about it, they talk about how broke they are. Review and adjust. Review your financial plan regularly and make appropriate adjustments. Sometimes you can be up over here. When one section is up, you can take the profits from that section and buy the section that's down for cheaper. You could be getting a better APY on a different savings account. So stay up on those types of deals. Prioritize your savings. Make sure that you are keeping an amount for yourself before you give to anybody else. You earned this money, not everybody else. It's your money. So keep some of it. Understand your money story. Reflect on your beliefs and your attitudes towards money to make positive changes anywhere you need to. Look at some of your spending and be like, do I necessarily need to be spending money on those certain things? Or can I put that money aside for something that is an actual investment for me? My money story is I stopped buying nice things that had no value, that I couldn't monetize or turn into money. So when I bought something good for myself, I would buy something such as a camera to film videos that I could potentially monetize eventually. With my money story, I'm saving up to be able to make money passively without having to work so hard and free up some of my time. Stay disciplined. Consistent habits lead to long-term financial success. If you start thinking about where you spend your money on a daily, say you go to this certain coffee shop every day, you're buying this coffee and you're tipping this amount, maybe the barista's pretty cool or whatever.
What do you have to say for yourself?
Can I get a caramel macchiato?
But maybe you could make the coffee at your house and make that more of your daily habit. There's little things that you may not realize that you're spending extra money that you don't necessarily need to. And if you can manage the discipline on yourself to stop spending money in those ways and finding a way around it to replace those habits and make them into more frugal habits, then you'll be on your way to a better financial future. Invest in relationships. Strong personal connections and people who are around you who understand your financial journey. 2 minds are better than 1 mind. 3 minds are even better. Enjoy the journey. Remember that money's a tool to help you achieve your goals and live a more fulfilling life. Keep in mind your future self. So that was 28 tips from Morgan Hossel's The Psychology of Money. I'm gonna have a link down below for this book. You should totally check it out. And I left timestamps for each of the 28 takeaways that I got. So you can go back and take notes or just write down all 28 and go through the book with it. My favorite quote from the book was, "Money's greatest intrinsic value, and this cannot be overstated, is its ability to give you control of your time." And if you think about that, I love that mentality. And that, to me, is the biggest mindset shift that I learned from this book. And to address the comments in the short of Kevin Hart when he's describing the check cashing places and the liquor stores, me personally, I used to cash my checks literally at the liquor store. And sometimes the liquor store wouldn't have enough money in the register to cash my full paycheck, so I would just let them hold my paycheck because I knew I was gonna be spending money at the liquor store. They definitely provide that sort of convenience for people who live that lifestyle. But the last thing that Kevin Hart said was, once you understand this is when you get out. And that was one of the things that I didn't understand. I was happy to come home with my 6-pack and a pack of smokes and a burrito from the taco shop. And lucky if I made rent. Until I understood how all these places make money, how check cashing places make money, and how they use money as a tool to get your money. And once I understood that, I was able to turn my money into the same sort of tool that I could make money off of for me. In my opinion, I definitely got to go with Kevin Hart's point at the very end. Once you understand this, you can get out.
That's how we keep the poor poor. It's not until you understand that you get out.